Outer Banks Season 4 Part 1 has finally released this month, with the remaining episodes coming shortly in November. And I will say, this has to be the most disjointed and ridiculous TV show I have ever watched on Netflix. After my girlfriend introduced me to the show, we have watched every single season, and I have just been flabbergasted on the tropes, the soap opera drama, the crazy action scenarios that have just kept me laughing, crying, and bewildered that a show can have so much going on but still keep me interested. For the uninitiated, Outer Banks is a Netflix series about a group of teenagers called the Pogues who search for treasure and solve the mystery of their ringleader's missing father. The show is set in a coastal town in North Carolina with a large social divide between the wealthy and working class. The wealthy are called the Kooks and the working class are called the Pogues. Rather than summarize every season and dive deep into everything this show has to offer, I want to give highlights to some big spoiler moments that have kept me entertained all this time from these first 3 seasons. No spoilers from Season 4, and if you've not seen a single episode of Outer Banks, don't watch this until after you've seen the insanity of Seasons 1 through 3. You have been warned. Starting with John B. should have died a long time ago. John B. is the leader of this makeshift treasure hunting gang driven by his need to find his presumably dead father, as well as the treasure he spent years searching for from a 19th century ship, the Royal Merchant. As the main protagonist, John B. has tested his plot armor through many near-death experiences. At this point, John B. has survived so many deaths that it has become a common season trope for him to almost die at least once every few episodes. Just to list a few from the first 2 seasons. Season 1, John B. is almost killed by some guys with guns, only to survive an electrocution via fence. He is then almost killed when Topper pushes him off a watchtower, only to suffer a broken wrist and a concussion. He's almost strangled to death by Ward, followed by playing chicken with a plane using a van, and almost drowning in a tropical storm by the end of the first season. Season 2, John B. is held by gunpoint, almost run over by a truck that his friends are driving, being strangled by a prison inmate, and almost killed and eaten by an alligator. I want to say that for the most of Season 3, at least everyone is close to death just as much as John B., but I would recommend making John B.'s never-ending torment into a fun drinking game. Now, let's talk about Ward. Ward is the father of John B.'s girlfriend, as well as the backstabbing friend to John B.'s papa. He serves as the main antagonist for all seasons, as he goes to extremely wild lengths to make sure he gets his treasure from children. A rich and respected member of the Outer Banks, Ward comes off as a normal, uptight father, but when he finally lets loose, he becomes a man who loses everything. Whether it's training his son to become a sociopath after beating up the local drug dealer to nearly strangling his own daughter and her boyfriend to death. Unhinged Ward is played so well by Charles Esten that you cannot look away. He was the perfect catalyst for a redemption arc, and it's almost hard not to be interested considering how long he goes for this treasure, only to sacrifice himself for the Pogues by the end of Season 3. But my favorite Ward moment has to be when he finally has the cops all over him for the crimes he committed, only for him to go into his boat, stage his death by blowing up the boat, and having a secret getaway escape with scuba gear, like he's some sort of James Bond villain. I love me some Ward.
Are a murderer.
Okay, let's just get some rapid fire moments that stay in my mind whenever I think of things that have happened in the Outer Banks. The Mrs. Crane Haunted Mansion heist with the Pogues in Season 1 feels like a completely different show. Cue the hiding from the ghoulish-looking Mrs. Crane with a shotgun, and what feels like so many jump scares in one place, and I was just convinced for a second that James Wan was involved in this entire sequence of events. Speaking of tonal whiplash, the Season 2 finale is pretty much Pirates of the Caribbean, in which multiple Pogues, mind you they are supposed to be around 16 in the show, have to fend off armed mercenaries while a giant industrial crane is swinging around everywhere with a gold cross. I also forgot to touch on Rafe, Ward's son and Sarah Cameron's brother, who is pretty much the spitting image of his father, only having less of a redemption arc, and it pretty much causes more trouble for everyone. Whether it is to get approval from Daddy Ward, almost killing his sister, or working with the local drug dealer, yup, the same one his dad beat up, Rafe doesn't do much on season 3 during the 18-month time jump, and it's weird not knowing about what happens to him, so hopefully season 4 gives us more of the sociopathic country club douche.
Yeah, country club killing now, huh? You need a piece, right? Don't!
Also, the most ridiculous season 3 scenario is when, again, 16 to 18-year-olds are able to outwit a group of armed friggin' mercenaries. Finally, Cleo's character progression of nothing side character slash minor character in season 2 to full-on main character and love triangle interest by season 3. It's amazing. But now, we have reached our end, so let me know your favorite Outer Bank moments in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Super Media Runners.